Hi, this is Caleb with A Safe Landing Counseling Services. This is a Christian perspective in counseling. We are continuing our series on regaining your authority as a man. So we're talking about marriages. We're talking about how men lose authority. That's what we've previously stated, is men lose authority through placation because they give up resources. They give up just for the connotation or the thought of peace. And really what they're doing is postponing the opportunity to have the fullness of relationship. Now, where we're going to go here is how to regain through authority in a marriage. So men cannot regain authority through bullying. That's the first thing. A man cannot have authority by bullying. Authority is not being over somebody and pounding them down on the ground. That's not authority. Authority is care, compassion, protection. It's the ability to cover well and protect. All right. So for men who come into their marriages and they order their wives and they tell them what to do, or they're demanding, or they say, well, I'm the head of the household, but they're not taking time to listen. They're not being caring. They're not being compassionate. They're not showing the Christ-likeness that we see in Scripture, for Christ is the head of man. Christ is the head of the church. And so Christ is over man, over the husband, and husband's over the wife. But what we see is Christ lays down his life for the church, same way as man will lay down his life for his wife. So what does it mean to lay down our life? Well, it starts with this, is that as a man, as a father, as a husband, we lay down our life in our desires and our needs. Sometimes we look for the needs of our children and our wife before we look for ours. This does not mean that we neglect ourselves. This does not mean that we don't take time to rejuvenate. What this does mean is that we check in with our family first. There are a lot of marital dynamics that are difficult here. And this is something that you're going to have to work through. And this is where I'd say, hey, marriage counseling could be really helpful, because some dynamics require men to be more assertive. Some dynamics require men to call out their wives more. So if a wife is saying right now, I need my husband to call me out more, most likely she needs somebody who guides her and directs her desires well. If she doesn't think she needs anybody to call her out and she's fine the way she is, she probably does need somebody to call her out. So it's kind of like that opposite experience where you're saying, oh, I don't need this, or I do need this. And it's like, let's work on that. You think that's what you want, but really what works in marriage is having a man who's strong and sees the strengths and weaknesses of his spouse, and then is able to create that in a working balance. I don't really like the word balance, but I'm going to use it here, where there's this pulling and pushing experience until there's a working relationship that's operational. So in marriage, we think that men and women should be equal in our society. Well, that's not really what we're looking for, but what we definitely don't want is one ruling over the other. We want them to have the ability to create a marriage together. They cultivate together, but there is one head. And so that's where we look to this idea of man, is that he's taking back authority, and he's not bullying, but he's looking for compassion. He's looking for protection. He's looking for care. He's looking for cultivation of his family. So the strides to cultivate a healthy marriage and a healthy construct of authority is by stepping out and asking first, what does my spouse need? What does my family need? If a husband is asking those things, and it's not just going to work, it's not just providing all the financial pieces, that is a small piece of what needs to happen as a man in a marriage and in a family. However, there needs to be more insight about the care, the compassion, the protection of the family. Is my family being girded up from media? Am I choosing to help guide my children from video games, from a lot of screen time that's actually sucking life from them, is hurting their development? It doesn't mean that we're not doing any of that. It just means that we're aware of it and we know how to protect them when we see that their hearts are going a certain direction. My wife, is she spending too much time investing into the children and not enough time being aware of herself? And as a man with authority, I'd be able to say, hey, you know what? It looks like you need a break. I would also be able to say, I love you. You know what? You're going so hard with the kids. Maybe you're pushing them too hard, or maybe they're pushing you too hard. We don't necessarily want a child-centric home, and being able to call that out as well. Men as leaders and as people in authority can be able to scope the ground around them or the layout of the land, and they can say, this is the direction we've been, this is the direction we're going, let's try this, what do you think? And so here's some things that we can actually put into practice that would be helpful in regaining authority. Are we asking questions of our spouse? Are we asking questions of our children? If we're asking questions, we will gain authority, and this is how it works. The more compassion you have with the family, this is not empathy, but compassion. The more compassion we have with the family feels safe in our presence, and then they respect us, and we gain authority out of that respect. So compassion is directly correlated to authority. The more compassion that you have for the family and bringing them in and saying, that really is rough, I'm sorry that's happening. In that, we gain authority, and then with that authority, we can lead well. So that's the first thing we can do, is start asking questions. Check-ins. Hey, what is going on in your life that I need to be aware of? I notice that you're shutting down. You know what? We're going to find a way to open up. Do we need to go out for walks? Do we need to go out and play? Do we need to have some sort of engagement where my presence is with you? So a man giving his presence to his family is another capacity where we're going to gain authority. So keeping in mind that authority is usually gained as we give out. It doesn't mean that we're walked over. It doesn't mean that we're taken advantage of. It means that we consider others' requests and their desires. A man who has authority is also in tune with desire, checking in with desires and follow through. If a man follows through and says, hey, you wanted this, I'm going to do this at this time, and when that time comes, he does it, he will gain trust and respect, and he will have more authority in the relationship. There's a few points in being able to gain authority in a relationship. Is we're going to start with questions, and then we're going to do check-ins. Where is our family at? Where's our marriage at? Where's our spouse at? And then also we're going to have follow-through. There's one other element that I want to touch on within gaining authority, and that would be when we see the family go in a certain direction and maybe there's a lack of awareness, consistency would be a huge piece in gaining authority, saying, you know what, this doesn't seem right. Can we try a different way? But doing that over time until we see a change in the relationships that we have, they may become aware of it, and we just steadily go that way, consistently go that way, and that can bring authority. Let us know how these videos are impacting you. Like and subscribe, and we'll keep them coming.